Hi, my name is Lisa, and I'd love to tell you something that recently happened that God has done in my life. My youngest child is Kenny. He's 23. He went to the Navy right after high school a few years ago. He was deployed twice to the Persian Gulf. The last time was during COVID, so they were quarantined on the ship for almost a year. It caused a lot of depression within the sailors. There was a couple of suicides, and my son had suffered a lot of PTSD issues. He's decided to self-medicate by drinking. He got sent to a rehab by the Navy, for which he left after two or 3 days. So the Navy discharged him. He stayed where he was stationed in Washington State, and he stayed with a friend, one of his shipmates. He got a DUI and was spiraling. I went out there to visit him in March. The first 2 days were great. He showed me around. We went to dinner. The third night he started drinking, and he's not a nice drunk. He's angry, he's combative, and that's what he was doing to me, to the point where I actually felt for my safety. I had to leave and stay in a hotel that night, and I went home the next day. I found out that the following day from his roommate called me and told me that Kenny packed his things up and moved to Corpus Christi, Texas, where another one of his shipmates was living. He got another DUI, his second one. He spent a few days in jail. He called me and told me. I tried to, talk to him about his foundation, which we were going to Bayside for years before Wellspring. In fact, Pastor Jason was his youth group leader. And he really has a good foundation of Jesus being in our lives and in our Savior. I would talk to him about it, and he would say, yeah, okay, yeah. I don't know really if it was penetrating, or he was actually thinking along those lines. I don't know. I couldn't tell. He was in a bad place. So I found out that after the next day, I called, and he told me that he was moving again, and he was moving in with another friend, because this first friend kicked him out. I called him up, and he was drunk and being very combative over the phone, which of course upset me. So the next day I texted him a long text explaining that I had to put up some healthy boundaries to protect my own emotional well-being, because it was extremely upsetting to see my son this way and just so angry at me for all his mistakes and bad choices. He never responded. A week went by. 2 weeks went by. I'm texting him, I'm calling, I'm getting just right to his voicemail. My other children, whom they're all close, all my children are close, they had been texting him and trying to get in touch with him. His own roommate called me and said, I can't get in touch with him, and we're best friends. So I had found out that he just packed up and left from this roommate, unannounced, just packed his stuff up and was gone. So now we don't know where my son is. Needless to say, I was distraught. I prayed every single day, every minute almost, it seemed like, Jesus, please put your hands on Kenny. Let him feel you. Let him know that you got him. You're in his, he's in your hands. Let him feel that. I never shared it with anybody in church. I just kept it to myself, hoping it would get better. I was hoping we'd find him. And 6 weeks went by, and I'm sitting in my life group, the Thursday Women's Life Group, led by Christy Matos, and I didn't plan this, but at the end of our session, she always says, does anybody need prayer? And it just flowed right out. I raised my hand and I said, I just started crying, and I explained what was going on with my son. Christy prayed this, with all of us, we all prayed. They put their hands on me. We all prayed the same prayer that I had been praying. Let Kenny feel Jesus. Let Kenny rely on Jesus. Know that this is who he has to lean on to fight this addiction and get himself back on track. That was a Thursday. After 6 weeks, This was a Thursday. Sunday morning, actually Sunday afternoon, I was on the boardwalk in Seaside Heights with my 2 granddaughters. They were going on rides. My phone rings, I look at it. I don't recognize the number, so I don't answer it. 3 seconds later, I get a text. Hi, Mom, it's Kenny. I almost fell to my knees. I knew in my heart that my prayers were going to be answered. However, I didn't think that quickly. I called him up quick. I called him back up real quick, and he sounded awesome. He said, Mom, I'm leaning on Jesus. I remembered how we always, would talk about how Jesus' plan, and it's not always our plan, but if we need him in any way, and for whatever we need to talk to him and lean on him. And he was doing that. And I just started crying. I said, oh my gosh, that's what I've been praying for, Kenny. That's what we've all been praying for. I am so happy. He said, I just came from church. I feel great. I said, where are you living? And he said, in a Christian fellowship home. If that isn't proof positive that God has us, that God answers our prayers, he hears us, I don't know what else would be. This is just, it was just the most awakening thing that I just felt this overall, yes, he does have us.